Welcome to the Hawaii State Golf Association's rules webinar on bunkers. This presentation covers the definition of a bunker, when a ball is in a bunker, things in a bunker that can be moved without penalty, restrictions on your actions when your ball is in a bunker, exceptions to those restrictions, other relief rules that can apply when your ball is in a bunker, and bunker etiquette. Before we get into the mechanics of how the rules for bunkers work, we must first define what a bunker is. And that is a specially prepared area of sand, which is often a hollow from which turf or soil was removed and intended to test the player's ability to play a ball from the sand. Now, the word sand, as used in this definition and Rule 12, includes any material similar to sand that is used as bunker material, such as crushed shells, as well as any soil that is mixed in with the sand. An example of a golf course in Hawaii that might use an alternative component in their bunkers would be the village course at Waikoloa, which uses pebbles as their primary sand material. These are not part of a bunker. That is a lip, wall, or face at the edge of the prepared area and consisting of soil, grass, stacked turf, or artificial materials that is illustrated in the image on the top right. Also, sand that has spilled over or is outside the edge of a prepared area, as seen in the image on the bottom left. This is an example of a bunker where it looks like the maintenance vehicle or the bunker raking machine enters and exits from this um, portion of the bunker, causing a little bit of erosion there to the actual lip or the outside edge of that bunker. So if a ball were to come to rest on, say, the outside of this blue dotted line here, even though it's on top of the sand material, it will not be considered as being at rest in the bunker because it is outside of where the intended edge of the bunker is supposed to be. And finally, all other areas of sand on the course that are not inside the edge of a prepared area, such as deserts and other natural sands, sometimes referred to as waste areas. Do note that a committee may define a prepared area of sand as part of the general area, or they may define a non-prepared area of sand as a bunker. This slide will go over when a ball is in fact considered to be at rest in a bunker, and that is when any part of the ball touches the sand on the ground inside the edge of the bunker, is inside the edge of the bunker and rests on ground where sand normally would be, such as where sand was blown or washed away by wind or water, is in or on a loose impediment, movable obstruction, abnormal course condition, or integral object that touches sand inside the bunker. And if part of a ball is both in a bunker and in another area of the course, you're going to see Rule 2.2C as to the status of that golf ball. It's a fairly rare circumstance, so we will save that subject for another time. These are the things you can move when your ball is at rest in a bunker. We may now, before playing a ball in a bunker, remove loose impediments. Under Rule 15.1, loose impediments are natural objects such as twigs, leaves, or rocks, as indicated in that image to the right. We must remember, though, when we are trying to remove loose impediments, that we must not cause the golf ball to move, otherwise we will be subject to a one-stroke penalty. We can move movable obstructions under Rule 15.2. Movable obstructions are artificial items such as bunker rakes, cigarette butts, or any kind of loose trash that may have flown into the bunker. What is different about this rule is that when we are moving a movable obstruction, if we accidentally cause the ball to move, there is no penalty, and we are just required to return it to its original position. Any reasonable touching or movement of the sand in the bunker that happens while moving the above items also do not result in penalty. These circumstances will result in penalty should you touch the sand prior to playing your stroke. And Rule 12.2b states that before making a stroke at a ball in a bunker, the player must not deliberately touch the sand in the bunker with a hand, club, rake, or other object to test the condition of the sand and to learn information for the shot. And you must not touch the sand in the bunker with the club in making a practice swing or in making a backswing. And of course, you may not improve the lie around the ball by smoothing it or removing the sand. The penalty for the above actions is a general penalty. And just a word of note, the answer to the age-old question of do I get relief if my ball comes to rest in a footprint in the sand? And the answer would be no, unfortunately. You are going to be required to play the shot as it lies. There are modifications under Rule 25.2F for players who are blind, and they may, without penalty, touch the sand in the bunker with their club prior to making the stroke. These actions do not result in penalty. We, of course, may reasonably dig in with our feet to take a stance for a practice swing or the stroke. We are allowed to smooth other areas of the bunker to care for their course, but the player does get the general penalty if their actions above improve the conditions affecting the current stroke in breach of Rule 8.1a. What this rule here states is that if a ball comes to rest in a bunker, and say the player notices that another part of the bunker away from the golf ball has been left unraked. This rule does allow the player to walk over and care for the course by raking that part of the bunker. You do have to be careful though, because in caring for the course, you are not going to be allowed to potentially improve the conditions affecting your current stroke or possibly where your ball is going to end up. So you cannot rake a set of footprints that is on your line between your golf ball and the hole, um, in hopes of preventing your ball from coming to rest in a footprint should your golf ball not be able to get out of the bunker. And you may now place your clubs or equipment and other objects in the bunker prior to playing your stroke. This used to result in penalty prior to 2019. So if our ball comes to rest in a greenside bunker, we are allowed to go ahead and bring our putter and our towel and lay it down on the sand while we play our shot out of the bunker, just provided that in doing so, we're not placing those objects in such a way that helps us with alignment or influencing where the golf ball might go after we make our stroke. You are allowed to strike the sand in frustration or anger. And believe it or not, a player may make practice swings and strike the sand in another bunker prior to playing the stroke. So if our ball comes to rest in the left-hand greenside bunker, we are allowed to walk over to the right-hand greenside bunker and make practice strokes and strike the sand, provided that in doing so, we are not causing an undue delay of play. This procedure addresses what to do when two golf balls come to rest near each other inside of a bunker. Generally speaking, in stroke play, if it's practical, if a player is going to be able to play, if the player who is closer to the hole is going to be able to play their stroke without disrupting the sand or the shot of the player who is further away, then that player does have the option of going first. However, if that is not practical, then the player who is closer to the hole should mark the spot of their ball and lift it to allow the other player to make their stroke. You must remember that while lifted, that ball must not be cleaned. If the ball marker is still interfering with the stroke, the player may measure and move the marker out of the way. After the stroke is made, the player must replace the ball on its original spot, and if the lie was altered as a result of the other player's stroke, the lie must be recreated as much as possible before the ball is replaced. What this rule is clarifying is that this is not a get out of jail free card if, say, the player who lifted their golf ball was settled down in the sand in either a rake mark or in its own pitch mark, or was plugged. The player is required to recreate that lie when it is their turn to replace the golf ball and play their stroke. The player is also allowed to restore other worsened conditions by raking the footprints made by the other player prior to playing the stroke. If the player does fail to recreate that lie as mentioned previously, they will get a general penalty of 2 strokes. This slide illustrates how to take relief from an abnormal course condition when your ball comes to rest in a bunker. The picture illustrates a golf ball that has come to rest in a puddle of water within the bunker. And just like if our ball happened to come to rest in a puddle in the general area, we are going to find our nearest point of complete relief. The only stipulation is that this point of complete relief must still remain in the bunker. And we, of course, must not be close to the hole. And we are going to measure one club length and take our drop within that relief area as illustrated in the picture. There are some situations where there is no such point of complete relief in the bunker, but the player may still take maximum available relief. This is a fairly rare occurrence, but say in that picture there, a large portion of the bunker has been flooded with water, and presuming that the direction of play is this way and the hole is up in the top right corner of the screen, if the player can't necessarily find an area outside of this puddle that is not closer to the hole and within the bunker, the player is going to have to find the shallowest portion of that puddle and take relief in there, um, using the same relief procedure as in the previous slide. These are your options for taking an unplayable ball out of a bunker. So just say your ball comes to rest plugged into the lip and you just know you can't get it out. Or it's just in a lie that you won't be able to advance the ball. You can take penalty relief for one stroke, and there are four options available to you. Option number one is to take stroke and distance relief for one penalty stroke, as illustrated on the top left-hand corner of the screen. Option number two is to take back on the line relief, which is illustrated in number two here. You must remain in the bunker as part of the stipulation for this rule. Number three, you can take lateral relief or two club lengths from the spot of the golf ball. Again, you must remain in the bunker and not be closer to the hole. And finally, for an additional stroke and a total of two strokes, the player may take back on the line relief outside of the bunker, as illustrated in option number four there. Just a few notes on bunker etiquette, although there are no necessarily rules or stated procedures listed in the rules of golf. These are just things that you should keep in mind when we're playing a shot out of a bunker. You should always enter and exit the bunker from the low side or the portion of the bunker where the lip is the lowest or shallowest. This is to help prevent erosion and pull excess movement of the sand from the face of the bunker. It'll also make raking the bunker a lot easier for you after you've completed playing your shot. And when we do go ahead and rake the bunker, um, the the correct procedure would be to use the smooth side of the rake first, or you can also use your feet or the bottom of your shoe there to just smooth the sand or push the sand back into place and fill up the larger portions, the divot and your footprints first and kind of just even it out generally. And then you're going to flip the rake over and use the teeth side to even out the surface using long and smooth strokes. This will ensure that the lie or the sand gets evened out first. And then when you go ahead and use the teeth side, you have a nice flat surface remaining when you're done with raking. Just keep in mind, you want to try to leave that bunker in a better condition than how you found it. Yes, unfortunately, we do encounter situations where a ball comes to rest in either a footprint or a divot that hadn't been previously raked, but that doesn't mean we are now absolved from also caring for the course. So just as in life, we must try to keep the bunker in a better condition than how we found it. And while there is no definitive rule on where to place the rake after we are done using it, it is highly recommended by us that you place the rake outside of the bunker, parallel to the direction of playing, and in an area where it will limit the effects the rake has on a golf ball. And this is so that in a rare situation where a ball will maybe come to rest up against the rake, the procedure for removing the rake and replacing the ball, if it does move, is a lot easier and simpler when it is outside of the bunker as opposed to when it is in the bunker. That concludes our presentation on rule number 12, bunkers. As always, please stay tuned for more content.